Hello everyone, welcome to CivilPrep. I am Krishna Gupta and this is a question on of Geography Optional 2024 of paper 1, that is perception, attitude, value and emotion are important components for biodiversity and sustainable environmental conservation. Elaborate. So this question is for 15 marks. Now if we look at the perception, attitude, value and emotion. So these are something which is related with the psychology of human beings. Okay, psychology of human beings. Okay, we also call it as PAVE. It is part of a PAVE theory. Okay, so here we see that in this part, basically how these human beings, they interact with the nature and environment. So under this part, what we'll be seeing that this psychology, that is, if we look here, that is a mental map, which was basically provided by Preed and Gould. So here we'll be seeing that this mental map, it is consisting of a picture on how the human beings, how the human beings, they perceive their environment. So either human beings, they can see their environment as something which is useful for them, something which is it is needed to be conserved, or something which is commoditized, and it is needed to be exploited for the development or the economic development. So this gives us a basic perception of how the human beings perceive their environment. Now, this was the part of the perception. Now, when we look at the attitude, so attitude is something, if we will see here, that attitude is a part of attitude is a part of a predisposed response. Okay, it is a predisposed response, which is majorly in this part, that is towards biodiversity and environment. Okay, so here we can see the attitude of either individual, or we can say the community, that what is their attitude towards the biodiversity and what is their attitude towards the conservation of environment. For example, if we look at the people who are indigenous, so this indigenous, they feel their community or the biodiversity and environment as sacred. Okay, they revere their uh, their particular whatever plants, okay, or we can say whatever plants they have, whatever animals they have in their surrounding, whatever trees they have, sacred groves. So everything, it is being revered here. So apart from this, we'll be also seeing that just apart from this, we'll be also seeing that they have a very important connection, okay, that they do not do any harm to the environment. And this is predisposed. It is in their mental image that their environment has not to be harmed. So this is the second point, that is attitude. If we look at the third thing, that is value. So value, when we'll be looking at, it is the deep-rooted beliefs. When we talk about the belief system, we have here a humanistic perspective. Okay, humanistic perspective, that is either of the belief system. It can be related to religion, or it can be related to culture, or it can be linked to any other location based. Okay, so this is something which is also being talked about by Yifu Tuan. That is how we can have a part of how we see that we believe something. Okay, so here we see that the believing is also deep rooted. So here we can see that the value that we give to any biodiversity or environment, either it can be ecocentric, here it can be environment, and here we have human beings, or it can be anthropocentric, where we have humans at the center and environment at the periphery. Okay, so these provides that how we value our biodiversity and our environment. Then next we have here, that is the emotion. Okay, so when we talk about emotion, we talk about sense of place. Okay, sense of place, a very good concept, which is also a part of the humanistic geography. So here we'll be seeing that the emotions, they are quite important. For example, we have fear, joy, we have despair. Okay, we have anger, and we have attachment, all of which are part of a emotion. Okay, so this is also seen in one of the example, that is the biophilia, that is the love for biodiversity. For example, certain people, if they view lion, so they will be very much amused. Certain people, they will become very fearful. Some may also, we can see that they will become worried. So these are the various emotions which are attached to when the people come across a lion here. So these are certain important part, which is quite important for understanding the human behavior in the contemporary time with respect to their biodiversity and environment. So in this aspect, we will see that there are certain key contributors who have given the evolution of the concept of PAVE or the PAVE theory. Okay, so number one here we have Kevin Lynch. who has introduced the concept of imaginability. Imaginability. Imageability with respect to the perception of environment. Okay. Then we have number 2, that is Yifu-Tuan, which we have already talked about, where we have topophilia, that is the emotional connection to a place. Then number 3, here we have Robert Stack. Okay, so Robert Stack has given a concept of the spatial behavior with respect to the value system. For example, certain people, they behave differently at home. Certain people, they behave differently at school. They behave differently with their friends in a restaurant, and they behave differently in the public places. So there are the various behaviors which have been categorized on the basis of how the people they are having their value system. Now, moving forward, what will be seeing that the PAVE, it represents a synthesis of, it represents a synthesis of cognitive, number 2, affective, number 3, moral, part of the geographies, which is blurring. Which is blurring the distinction between the subjective experience and the spatial planning. Okay, subjective experience and the spatial planning here. So here we can see that we have various geographers which are being associated from the different fields who have provided us the various aspects from the to understand this PAVE theory. So first we have the behavioral geographers. Okay, we can see this from the behavioral geographers here. So here we have number 1, David Lowenthal, okay, who has given the concept of the perceived environments, which is actually shaping the geographical behavior. Number 2, here we have Breland Gulich, who has provided the mapped cognitive processes. With respect to the choice and environmental learning. Number 3, here we have Annie Buttimer, who has introduced the life world. Okay, life world concepts integrating the emotion and place, okay, which are interlinked together. Okay, then apart from this, when we look at the environmental geography, so here we have Gilbert White, who has basically promoted human adjustment to environmental hazards. Not only this, we will be also seeing that we have Julian Stewart. Now, what Stewart has said that he was the founder of cultural ecology. And here he has linked societal adaptation, with the environment. Not only this, we also have E. Odom. Okay, E. Odom, he has provided systems ecological perspective. Okay, which is influencing geographical, historical thinking. Okay, so this is an important part here. If I try to write certain models here with respect to the geographical or environmental geography, here I have ecological footprint model. Okay, then number two, here we have cultural ecological framework. And number three, here we have biophilia hypothesis, which is given by E. Odom. Okay, so here we see that the PAVE, it is providing us an important part for the biodiversity and environmental conservation. PAVE, it is providing important path for biodiversity and environmental conservation. So here number one will be seeing that is enhanced policy design. Under this will be seeing that, for example, we have sacred groves in India. Okay, so they are basically protected by various laws. Okay, apart from this, we have participatory planning, where the PAVE, it fosters emotional stewardship, okay, encouraging co-management. Okay, for example, communities and residents together. Okay, Apart from this, we'll also see that there is behavioral change. So behavioral change we can see, which is actually happening because of environmental, education, both formal and informal. Okay, where we see that we are trying to leverage emotion and values to change attitude, and perception. Okay, apart from this, we'll be also seeing that we have ecosystem ethics. So under the ecosystem ethics, if I to see that there is a shift in the worldview from exploitative towards the ecocentric value, change in perception from economic perspective to ecocentric perspective. Okay. Now, we'll try to write a conclusion for this answer here. So here we'll be seeing that PAVE emphasizes the ecological sustainability is not only a function of biophysical planning, but is deeply embedded in human psychology and social values. Okay, thus what we will see here that fostering positive PAVE in humans and communities varying from region to region is important for conservation of biodiversity and sustainable development. Okay, so this is a PAVE theory, which we see that we have a conclusion for this part. And this answer, it is quite unique for as per the question here. So we can again repeat here. So this is a question of 2024. Perception, attitude, value, and emotion are important components for biodiversity and sustainable environmental conservation. So here we are looking at perception, attitude, value, and emotion, which is also PAVE, is a psychology of human beings where it is interacting with the nature and environment. So we have a mental map which is provided by Predincold, which is a picture where the humans, they perceive their environment. Either it can be useful, it should be conserved, or it is commoditized, which is used for exploitation. Then attitude, it is the predisposed response where the biodiversity and environment is looked at. Okay, for example, an individual or community which can be indigenous, they see their biodiversity and environment as sacred. Where from the capitalist perspective, it is just a commodity. Okay. Then if we look at value, it is the deep-rooted belief. It is a part of the perspective of humanistic geography, where the belief, it can be either religion, culture, or location, which is also provided by Yufutuan, where the biodiversity and environment, they are seen from the value that can be either ecocentric or anthropocentric. Then, as per the emotion, as we have the different emotions like fear, joy, despair, anger, there is a sense of place. There is certain sense like, for example, sacredness, the fear can be there. For example, there can be opportunities can be there. So there are various emotions which are attached to a place. So it is also becoming part of the humanistic geography here, where when we see a lion, we can be worried, we can be amused, we can be fearful. So there can be many emotions invoked here. So when we look at the human behavior, it is basically seen from the biodiversity and environmental perspective, where how it is creating an image, an attitude, a value, an emotion on the human beings. Thus, PAVE theory, if we look at the various theorists like Kevin Lynch, imaginability for the environment, and Yifutuan in his topophilia, providing emotion for the place. Then Stack, providing spatial behavior for the value system. Then PAVE also represents a synthesis of cognitive, affective, moral, and geographies, which is blurring the distinction between subjective experiences and spatial planning. So various geographers can be included here from the behavioral part. For example, Loventhus, then Goldich, and Batima. Then we have environmental geography, White, Stewart, and Odom. Okay, certain models like ecological footprint model, cultural ecological framework, and biophilia hypothesis can be used here. Okay, then talking again about the PAVE, here it is important for the biodiversity and environment in terms of policy design, participatory planning, behavioral change over the human beings, and the ecosystem ethics and its propagation. Then, concluding this question here, the PAVE, it is emphasizing the ecological sustainability is not only a function of biophysical planning, but is deeply embedded in human psychology and social values. So, fostering positive PAVE in humans and communities, varying from region to region, is important for the conservation of biodiversity and sustainable development. So this is one of the answer of PYQ, which is part of the PYQ prep, is seen from this perspective of faith. Okay, so guys, see you in the next session. Thank you very much.